basket kind of girl. When I do something, I do the hell out of that thing, and I go all in. I take huge risks on sometimes absurd ideas, and as a result, it's really worked out for me. My name is Ela Darling. I have been a porn performer for 7 years. I co-founded a company that created a live webcam platform in virtual reality. That product is called Cam4VR. I am the president of a nonprofit called the Adult Performer Advocacy Committee, and we do work advocating for adult performers. And I've found along the way that there are 4 main principles that have really guided me as I've thrown myself headfirst into some of the things that I've approached. The first is take calculated risks. Sometimes people are going to think that the choices you're making are insane, but you are the only person who can decide what's worth risking and what rewards are worth sacrificing for. Take a chance on yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, if you don't invest in yourself, nobody else will either. And you are worth taking that risk. You are worth investing in. Make yourself uncomfortable. It's at the edge of your comfort zone where truly magnificent things happen. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it, and then it wouldn't be special. So push yourself and dare yourself to do more. And finally, start over. Sometimes when you've put a lot of work into something, it feels like when you start over, you're throwing away everything. But in reality, you're discarding the things that are weighing you down and allowing yourself to move forward with the lessons you've learned and the skills you've gained along the way. So these are the 4 things that have really helped me through a lot of points in my life where I've done something really crazy or invested in something that didn't seem very wise to outsiders. About 10 years ago, I was finishing college, and I decided on a whim that I wanted to become a librarian. And it wasn't enough to just become a librarian. You have to go to grad school and get a master's degree to do this. So if I was going to do this, I was going to only go to the best library school in America. Nothing else would do. And if I did it, I was going to do it in double time. I was going to do this 2-year degree in 1 year just to prove to myself that I could. So I only applied to 1 graduate school. And if I didn't get in, then I would definitely... And I still don't know how to finish that sentence because I don't really know what my backup plan was. But luckily, I did get in. And I attended this school. And a year later, I became a reference librarian and the associate director of a library. And this was an incredible achievement for me, especially so young. I had a job that I loved, something that I could see myself doing for the rest of my life. Oh my God, is the rest of my life about to start when I'm 22? This was crazy. So I threw it all away and I found a different path. Crushing existential ennui can push you to do things that you never expected sometimes. So I did the obvious thing after that. I moved to Los Angeles and started doing porn, as you do. This in itself was quite a risk because I worked very hard to be where I was professionally. And once you start doing porn, you've always done porn. You're never not naked on the internet again after that. And when you do this, a lot of doors close for you. I'm never going to be a kindergarten teacher, for example. But I did it. I dared myself to explore an industry that scared me and that I had a lot of misconceptions about. I challenged myself to learn what the reality of this industry was for the people, for the workers, for the laborers. I wanted to explore it from every angle. And so I did. I gave myself the opportunity to challenge my beliefs. And as a result, I found a long-term career and community and opportunity and independence that I never expected to find. A few years after that, I found myself getting a little bit older, which in porn can be a big deal. And I knew that if I wanted to have longevity in the adult industry, I needed to expand. I needed to start a production company and make my own content. So I started creating very stylized, high-end, high production value lesbian pornography. And it was gorgeous, and it was fun. But there was something lacking. I realized that my husband at the time started kind of edging me out of my business and making decisions without talking to me. And I was like, wait, what are you doing? This is my company. You have your company, but this one is my company, so what's going on here? And he told me that he didn't think that I was capable of starting a company on my own unless he did it for me and handed it to me. So I threw all of that away and started over both the company and the marriage because that was a little bit nonsense. And I realized that while the lesbian pornography business was really cool, it wasn't a challenge. I was doing the exact same thing I'd been doing for 4.5 years, just on the other side of the camera. And it was a challenge without real challenge. It was a risk without real risk. And I knew that I could do better than that. And I had to challenge myself to do better than that. And around the same time, I tried a device called the Oculus Rift, which is a virtual reality headset. And if you don't know what virtual reality is, you're going to in the next few years for sure. But what it is it's a headset that you put on your face, and there's a lens pointing at each of your eyes, and it's this transportative, immersive experience where you can be anywhere in the world, you can try new things, you can explore experiences with this immersive device from the comfort of your home. And I knew when I tried this device, this was going to be incredible for pornography. Whenever I try a new technology, I have two questions. How can I fuck with it, and how can people watch someone fuck with it? So that was very clear. It was very apparent how virtual reality was going to be important for the adult industry. But I didn't have the technical or development skill sets to make that happen on my own. Well, serendipitously, one day, I was cruising Reddit.com, and I saw a post by someone who said, I really want to make virtual reality porn. I've got all of the tech and camera experience that I need. I just don't know how to find someone that will actually get naked on camera. So we obviously had to meet. Within a few weeks, this person had flown me out to the East Coast. And this was a pretty big risk. This was meeting a stranger on the internet to be naked in front of a camera with them, which is always something that can make you a little nervous. But I did this, and I was standing in a train station in Washington, D.C., and the person who would eventually become my best friend and my business partner approached me. And I almost asked to see his identification because he looked like a teenager. He was only 20 years old at the time, and it was not at all what I was expecting. So, a little backstory about porn. It's very common in porn to shoot in people's houses, their apartments, their homes. A lot of studios don't like to rent to the adult industry, so we make do with what we have. So when he told me we would be shooting in his apartment, that didn't really faze me. Until we arrived at the apartment, and it turned out it was actually his dorm room at his university. And much to the surprise of his roommates at the time, who were playing Dungeons and Dragons when we got there. So it was cool because I knew I was amongst my people. We shot our first virtual reality porn scene in his dorm room. It was incredibly weird science. If you've ever seen that movie, I lived it, basically. And it was cool. We reviewed the content, and I was absolutely blown away. I had never felt so engaged with an adult film before. I've watched my own work plenty of times, but this was truly something different and truly something unique. It had the ability to make you feel a presence and a sense of personhood with the person that you were watching that I never saw before in traditional 2D analogs. So we became business partners and we started creating more of this content. It was 180 degrees 3D, and we made some really cool stuff. And then we threw it all away. And we started over. This time we did 360-degree 3D content, which is similar but a lot more technologically taxing. And we made some really bad content, but also some really great content. We learned a lot. And once again, we took this catalog of our work and threw it away and started over. This was a very new industry, and we were one of the first companies producing this kind of content. But the kind of content we were creating wasn't defensible. Anybody could buy a camera, learn some of the stitching technology, and easily become our competitors, and probably outweigh us because we were only two people. So we needed to do something that was more of a challenge to ourselves, and that would pose a challenge to anybody who wanted to enter into the space that we were occupying. So We made the world's first virtual reality porn holograms. We took a Microsoft Kinect, and we used that as a camera, and then we used some software to designate the capture space on 3 axes. So I would place a performer into that space and capture their movements, and then place that into a digitally rendered environment so you could walk all around them and see them from different angles. And it was so cool because you felt like you were really in a bedroom with this person that was talking to you and really engaged with you. But again, we tossed it, we scrapped it, we moved on, because we found a more compelling way to use that tech. We created a holographic dating simulator. So you can date me in virtual reality. And I learned that I am actually a very tough date because there was behavioral aspects to this program. In that, if you said something too sexual or too forward too early on in the conversation, holographic me does not have time for your nonsense. She's out of there. If you act respectfully and you approach it like you're talking to a person and not flesh on screen, then you get rewarded. And this made all of the difference, because this made it so that you were engaged. It was interactive, and you felt like you were really talking to a person. And then, once again, we threw it all away. Because if the cool part was feeling like you were talking to a person, we decided, why not make it so that you can actually talk to a real person? So we launched the world's first virtual reality webcam platform, and I became the world's first VR cam girl. And we iterated, and we pivoted, and we changed it, and we fixed it, and we haven't thrown this one away. We've decided that we're really happy with it. And this is because of all of the previous experiences where we challenged ourselves, we took risks, we took chances, and we started over. We carried with us the knowledge that we learned and the insights that we had gained that at this point were incredibly unique, and we were some of the only people in the world who knew these things and had this insight. And we realized that while we were making adult content, the most compelling aspect of it wasn't sexual at all. It was the ability to make someone feel less lonely, to make someone feel like there's somebody else out there in the void of life who hears them and cares, someone with whom they can share a reciprocal attraction, a shared self-disclosure and vulnerability. It's far more of a therapeutic medium than anything sexual, though it definitely is sexual as well. And that's where we are now. And if I had not taken these risks, taken a chance on myself, made myself incredibly uncomfortable in a lot of ways, and thrown away a lot of work, I would probably still have a relatively happy, comfortable life, but I wouldn't have experienced the incredible opportunities and the thrills of success. I've made some of the best mistakes in my life, and I've gotten to experience parts of the world and parts of life that I never dreamed of when I was deciding that I was going to study the Dewey Decimal System and work in a library. So a takeaway that I'd like for you to leave with is, don't be afraid to take big risks and start completely fresh, whether that's in work or in hobbies or even in a marriage or a relationship. When things stop working, when you know that you want more and can do more and you can challenge yourself to be better, do it. Listen to that thought, listen to that voice, and act on it. Get out there and start taking some chances. Thank you.